Hey everybody, Matt here. In today's video, we continue to look at the game of casino craps. Specifically, we're going to look at what the house edge is. What is it? How can we avoid it? Is that possible? How could we reduce it? That's what we're going to talk about. So another way to describe the house edge or the casino edge is that it is the difference between what the casino should pay if they were paying the true odds versus what they actually pay. The difference is the edge. Now, if you've seen any of my earlier videos, you've seen me develop this little triangle of blue chips. Basically, these blue chips represent all the different dice combinations that you can get out of rolling a pair of six-sided dice. So why don't we just march down the box numbers here, and we'll use all these chips to try and explain what the house edge is. So starting with the number 4, and incidentally everything that I say about the number 4 will also apply to the number 10. So starting with the number 4, there's 6 ways to roll a 7, and there's 3 ways to roll a 4 or a 10. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So if the casino was going to pay the true odds on winning a bet on a number 4 or a number 10, they would pay at 2 to 1. So taking that a step further, if you had a $10 bet on number 4 and a 4 was rolled, you should be paid. If you were paid at the true odds, you would be paid twice your bet. So 2 times $10 would be $20. But in fact, the casino does not pay the true odds because they take out a small percentage of your win. What they actually will pay on a $10 bet on a number 4 is $18. So that difference between the true odds amount, and then what they actually pay, that's the house edge. So let's move to number 5. 6 ways to roll a 7, 4 ways to roll a 5. So that's 6 over 4, or another way to say that is 3 over 2. Right? So when there's a $10 bet on 5, say 2 red chips, if the casino was going to pay the true odds, 2 red chips would yield 3 red chips, right? 3 to 2. But the casino doesn't pay that. Instead of paying $15 on a $10 bet, they pay $14. Again, the difference is the house edge. And of course, everything that I've just said about the 5 applies to the 9. So now we understand the 4 and the 5, the 9 and the 10. The 6 and the 8 are a little bit trickier to understand, so stick with me here for a second. There's 6 ways still to roll a 7, and there's 5 ways to roll a 6, and 5 ways to roll an 8. So that's 6 over 5. Now, if you were allowed to make a $10 place bet on a 6 or an 8, I know you're not allowed to do that, but if you were allowed to do that and the casino paid you the true odds, they would pay $6 for every $5 bet. So a $10 bet would yield $12. But in fact, the casino forces you to bet in increments of $6 on the 6 and 8. Okay? And what the casino will do is they will pay $7 for every $6 bet. So a $12 bet on the 6 or the 8, the casino will pay $14. It's a little harder to see, but there's a house edge there as well. So the real takeaway from all of this, because you don't have to memorize all of these numbers or any of these numbers, the real takeaway from this is to very provocatively say that even when you win, you lose a little bit. And that's how the casino is actually able to make a profit on the game and build these very beautiful and large properties. All right, so we just went through a whole bunch of numbers, and I hope that you got the main takeaway, and that is basically that the casino keeps a small percentage of each bet made on the craps table, There is a couple of exceptions, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but primarily they hang on to a small percentage of each bet placed, and that's considered the casino edge or the house edge, and that's how they make a big profit on the game. Now let's take a closer look at my particular layout here, and see if they're based on the layout, see if the casino is promoting one kind of bet over another. So let's start with the pass line. You see how big the pass line is compared to the don't pass. It seems like the pass line is a lot bigger on this layout than the don't pass. At least that's the way it seems to me. And recall from my earlier videos that if you place a minimum bet on the pass line, or a bet on the pass line, during the come out roll and the come out roll only, it's an instant winner on a 7 or an 11. There's 6 ways to roll a 7 and 2 ways to roll an 11, so that's 8 ways to win instantly. This same bet will lose on a 2, 3, or 12. There's 4 ways to roll those 3 numbers. So there's 8 ways to win, 4 ways to lose instantly on the come out roll. So the odds are in favor of the shooter 2 to 1. So it's a pretty good bet for the shooter. But as soon as a point number is established, let's say 4, now the only way that this bet can win is if the shooter throws a 4 before throwing another 7 or a 7. There's 6 ways to roll a 7 and there's only 3 ways to roll a 4. So now the odds have flipped in favor of the casino. So it seems to me that the casino wants you to make this bet, because after the come out roll and a point's been established, the odds flip in their favor. Now if you contrast that with the don't pass, which seems to have a lot smaller piece of real estate, at least on my layout here, it seems like they're not wanting you to bet the don't pass, and maybe that's because after the point's established, now the way the don't pass bet wins is if the shooter throws a 7, which is the most likely number to come out because it has the most possible dice combinations. Just a theory. Let's look at the field. Big, huge box. Okay? There's a pretty high house edge when you do all the math. There's a fairly large house edge. It's not really a very good bet. The casino keeps a bigger chunk of your bet. And yet they kind of encourage you to make that bet because the box is so big and they cover so many numbers. So people that don't quite understand all the nuances of the math think that this is a good bet when it's really not so much of a big bet, good bet. Look at the size of the come box versus the don't come. Sort of like the pass and the don't pass. It seems to me that they're encouraging people to make come bets just like they are to make pass line bets versus making don't pass and don't come bets. Again, just an observation. The box numbers, when you place a come bet, if you have a come bet and let's say the shooter rolls a 4, well, let's say the shooter rolls a 4 when the point is set at a 6, let's say, and your come bet travels to the 4, okay? This part of the layout is much larger. This box is much larger than the smaller box right behind it. Come bets go to this box. Don't come bets go to this box. Which one do you think they're encouraging people to make? Again, just an observation. This particular layout has the big 6 and 8. Now I'm fairly sure my local casino doesn't have the 6 and 8, but if you see that, I'm pretty sure that these bets pay even money. So a $5 bet on the big 6 or 8 only pays $5. Whereas if you placed the 6 or the 8 and it hits, you're going to be paid $7. Same number, same roll of the dice. So there's more house edge here than there is here. And yet look at how big this area is. Seems to me they're encouraging people to bet over there instead of betting over here. Just some observations. So now we understand what the house edge is, and we also understand that the amount of house edge varies depending on the bet. Let's look at a couple of bets that aren't even marked on the layout that have 0 house edge. And that would be the odds bet behind the pass line bet and the lay bet on the don't pass bet. Both the odds and the lay bet carry a 0 house edge, meaning the casino will pay you the true odds. 0 house edge. So you get paid what you actually should get paid based on real probabilities. The tricky part is that you can only make an odds bet or a lay bet if you have the line bet. So if you watched my earlier video, you saw where I suggested that some people choose to play both a pass line and don't pass bet at the same time during the come out. A 7 or 11 win here offsets the 7 or 11 loss here. The 2 or 3 win here is offsets the 2 or 3 loss here. So the only risk with this is losing the pass line bet to a 12, because a 12 on the don't pass is a push, and there's only one way out of 36 to roll a 12. So it should happen fairly infrequently. And it does bear repeating that any of these numbers can appear at any time in any order. So definitely keep that in mind. So if you bet both the pass and the don't pass at the same time, you wait for a come out roll, let's say a 4. Puck gets moved over to the 4. Now you can choose, do I want to put an odds bet behind the pass line and get paid the true odds, which would be 2 to 1? Or do I want to put a lay bet here and get paid the true odds, which would be 1 to 2? Well, it's kind of your choice, right? So what a lot of people do is they consider it rather more difficult to hit a 4 than it is to hit a 7. So they might lay a bet against the 4. If the shooter 7's out, then the pass line bet's going to lose, but the don't pass bet is going to win, so that offsets the loss on the pass line bet, and the lay bet will win at 1 to 2. So half of this bet is what you will win. 20 earns you 10. So your net profit would be a 10 in the case where you bet both the pass and don't pass at the same time, laid against the 4, and then the shooter 7's out. So that's the difference between getting paid the true odds versus what the casino will pay you after they take out their house edge or casino edge. So if you watch my earlier videos, you've heard me say before, but it bears repeating, the only bet on the craps table that I know of that carries a 0% house edge is the odds bet behind the pass line bet or the lay bet on the don't pass line. And notice there is no marking on the layout indicating where you place that bet. So to me, that's indicating that the casino doesn't really want to advertise that bet to either one of those bets too strongly. Otherwise, it seems to me that they'd put a place on the layout for it. But again, that's just an observation. All right, so we've covered a lot of information, and I hope that one of the big takeaways for you as you watch this series of videos is that whether you win or lose at the casino craps table, it really is a function of the numbers that get rolled on the dice, but more importantly, the order in which those numbers appear. And no one, I said no one, can predict very consistently what those numbers are, and then also, more importantly, what order those numbers will appear in. So I guess that's where the slang term, that's a crapshoot, comes from, because there's no way to predict. So now I hope you understand what the house edge is. I hope you understand that some people call it the casino edge. I hope you understand how it affects your payouts, how you can sort of control the amount of house edge the casino takes by choosing one kind of bet versus another kind of bet. And I also, most importantly, hope that you understand that you can reduce the house edge all the way down to 0 by taking an odds bet behind the pass line or a lay bet on the don't pass line.